I love it. And it's so ironic because you're trying to bring joy. You're using hate.
Wow. I never thought of it that I'm bringing joy through hate.
Welcome to the Let Me Save You 25 Years podcast. I'm your host, Shawn David Nelson, aka that love sack guy. Have you failed recently? How good are you at failing? We are going to break it down. I'm going to share a story from more recent love sack days, kind of in the middle. We were crushing it, had 60 locations. You know, we had invented Sactionals in the early 2000s and they were doing their thing and getting popular. And we started to hire people from our competitors, West Elm, Pottery Barn, excellent visual merchandisers, helping us branch out into rugs and lamps and decorative baskets and seasonal collections, and basically taking the playbook of the best furniture purveyors in the world and trying to do it just as well or better in the shopping mall across the hall from them out of these tiny stores. But come on, you know, we're hiring the best people. We're doing all the right things. And we did okay. If I'm honest, we actually completely failed at all that stuff. The Sactionals were working, our invention. We were selling plenty of couches, but like we could never get all the other stuff to catch on. Even though we had great window displays, even though we had great sales, even though we had great signage, even though we were doing all the right things. And we had to see this strategy through for a number of years before we finally cried uncle and said, there's got to be a better way to do this, because our sales are completely dominated by Sactionals and Sacks, and we're barely selling anything else around them. So we just completely failed. And in fact, went to some of the best design agencies in the world to help us rethink our brand, to help us re-strategize it, and ended up making the decision to cancel like 90% of our SKUs, like 90% of our products we're going to toss out and adopt a whole new strategy, making Sactionals the hero, putting them on TV, putting them in digital advertising, putting them on a screen in the window near the front of the showroom, redesign the whole store. It'll be expensive. We'll have to remodel 60 of them. We'll have to open 200 more, take the risk on advertising. And with this complete strategic shift, found the path for Lovesac that you see today, that's had us now grow to, 7 times the size we were then. We've gone public on NASDAQ. We get to employ thousands of people on this successful strategy that's profitable and sustainable and good. But we would have never gotten there if we would have just kept grinding away at the original strategy, which was more of a traditional kind of furniture strategy. And it basically took us failing at that and finally admitting defeat in that thing, but not admitting defeat overall, to become what we become today. Well, today's guest gets to unpack this idea of failing successfully in great detail. We're going to talk about how failure is not the whole tower falling over. It's just maybe a block or two that falls out that actually helps us build the bigger, better thing. We talk about how people are attracted to you or attracted to people that are authentic, even for all of your mistakes and shortcomings or quirks or weirdness. So don't be so edited, right? People may not like certain aspects of you or your brand, but people like brands that are authentic. So be real. How critical we are of ourselves. We get into how, we're often too critical. And by the way, no one knows what you've failed at other than like yourself and maybe a few people really close to you. So you got to get over being so afraid of just like sucking at things or trying things that may not work. And finally, our guest today has mastered the art of bringing joy through hate. He's like the consummate hater, and he'll make you laugh the entire time. And he struggles with, not just becoming a hater online. You're going to love this conversation. You're going to love our guest. If you don't follow him already, you've been living under a rock. Enjoy. Let me save you 25 years with Samir Mezrahi. Today's guest knows a thing or two about weird houses and wild ideas, and how failure is never really failure if you can fail forward. He's the mastermind behind Zillow Gone Wild. This is that viral sensation that turned real estate into a pop culture playground. What started as a quirky passion project in the middle of a pandemic became a social media empire with millions now of obsessed followers, including me. I had to hunt him down. He's got a best-selling book, an actual show on HGTV called Zillow Gone Wild. This is a guy who's tried and scrapped plenty of ideas, creative adventures that did not catch fire until one finally did. And today we're talking about failing successfully and how failure only becomes final if you run away from it. He's so insightful. He's hilarious. He just might be the only person to make a haunted dollhouse go viral. Please welcome the man of deadpan himself, Samir Mezrahi.
That's a tough intro to follow, but thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to be here. Obviously, this is my excited voice.
This is your excited voice. This may be the most excited voice I've ever heard you use. What's going on?
I don't know if I've ever smiled on my account. It might be the first time I've smiled online.
This is unprecedented. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you may need to go there just to see Samir smile, because he is like, what a downer. What a flipping downer. Samir, no, I love your stuff, man. It's like the best.
Thank
it puts a smile on my, hey, look.
I'm a big fan of you too.
Well, you don't smile, but you make everyone else smile. Like, what kind of weird, twisted skill is that?
Well, so many people go online to just be mad. And I try to, the spaces I've been a part of, I try to make them fun and joyous and a good outlet for people to look forward to. And so hopefully I do that.
Through the conduit, mostly, of negativity. It is so weird. Okay, so listen, if you're listening, you don't know Samir, you have to go right now. Dial up Zillow Gone Wild in your Instagram feed. Or Samir, you can find him as well, Samir, which is cool. But Zillow Gone Wild is where he does his thing. And, he has this thing, House Haters, where just all the stuff that sucks. He calls it out. He says it out loud. You may or may not agree with him, but he's not afraid to say it, which is why I love it. And I must agree with much of your commentary, except of course, if you ever take, beef with Lovesack, then we'll have to talk. Okay. Give me an example. For those listening, Samir, just off the cuff, pick something that you've hated recently, just so that they understand kind of where you're coming from.
Well, I got in big trouble because I hated string lights. I do not I had to do an apology because
what?
Yeah.
Backlash?
A lot of backlash. A lot of people were like, I agree with you with everything you've said so far, but string lights I cannot agree with. I just feel like you're at a Brooklyn bar with string lights. And I don't want to you want to see the stars. You don't want these lights hanging overhead. Practically you've got now 50 bulbs that you need to think about and change every once in a while. They get dusty. I'm just not into string lights. So the bugs now are overhead. It's I did apologize, but maybe just between you and me, I'm still kind of against them.
Still
not into them.
Yeah, it's they might have been cool 10 years ago when only, it's whoa, what a magical scene. But once every trendy place, restaurant, bar, and your neighbors have them at some point, right?
Yeah. Do you have?
No, thankfully, but I have.
I hang up.
I have you. That would have been the end of the podcast. I have string lighted in the past.
Okay. So you've found your ways, and it was a phase, and now you've moved on. So that's fine.
Yeah. And I can proudly say I did not need Samir to coax me out of them. I naturally graduated beyond my string light phase.
You know, that's the highest level, is to not even need me to tell you and just to learn it on your own. So I'm very proud of you, Shawn.
That's when you know you've arrived. Okay, so yeah, for those listening, man, Samir just lays the smackdown on all the poor taste, but also he finds these crazy listings on Zillow. Like you can't believe what people are selling, like fully furnished homes from some, lost decade that no one's ever seen, doll collections included, like, or they just, at least in their photographs, they're including the creepiest, craziest stuff. What's one of the wildest things, Samir, that you can think of that you're like, WTF? Like, how did someone not move that out of the frame of the picture? Just as an
I'm,
example.
I mean, there are a lot of like sex dungeons in homes that are like, are you like trying to let your neighbors know about your lifestyle, or like, can you like move this off the picture? That's
Or
a
do you just
popular one.
think like it's totally normal? Like, is that the circle you roll in where like, what, you don't have a,
Yeah. So
contraption that does this?
maybe like, yeah, the neighborhood knows about them. Yeah, I'm not sure. That I've seen, just like, just clean up. Like, to the agent that took this photo, like I've seen like eggs on the stove, like mid cooking. Like, just do a little cleanup, think about it. Like laundry baskets out. But I guess that's where I've learned where like the better agents are versus maybe not the better agents out there.
Well, the problem is you've infiltrated my psyche. Like, there's almost not a venue that I enter at this point where I don't say to myself as I look around or look up or whatever, Dustville, USA. Like, what the heck, man?
Dust is important to think about, and just things collect dust, and so I'm really trying to minimize my dust collection at all time. Like string lights, it's just outside and getting dust on top of it, like 24/7. There's no covering of it, it's just getting dusty, and then you gotta clean it and dust it.
I have to
That's
ask,
where
are you
chandeliers.
are you clinically OCD somewhere? Is that a thing in your
No, I think I'm actually pretty unbothered by most things.
No, don't admit that. You can't admit that on air. What the heck?
No, I mean, I'm maybe I'm unbothered, but I'm just checking off a lot of things. Like if I see a chandelier that's collecting dust, I'm like, oh no, like what is this? Like, why are you guys doing this? But I can survive, so maybe I'm immune to it. I'm not sure.
Hmm. All right. Well, listen, if you're not following Samir, he's just so good. But look, to get to the topic a little bit, then we'll come back to wild stuff. Um, I'm so interested to hear what you have to say. Look, without thinking too hard, when you heard our topic, uh, failing successfully, fail successfully, what's the first thing that came to mind?
I mean, I just think about, so I worked at BuzzFeed for 10 years, and a good part of the BuzzFeed culture was trying stuff. And they were very open in discussion and like ideas and doing ideas, and like no idea was a bad idea, and like a lot of what was going on there was building upon like derivative, and this kind of worked, but let's do it this way this time. And
Mm,
that's where like Tasty and all of that stuff kind of came from, like
mm.
just trying like food videos, and then a guy did like the overhead version, and then it was like the craziest thing the news feed had ever seen. I know like Facebook's like spam blockers were on because so many people were following the page that they thought it was like some kind of robot activity or something.
And the key, it sounds like, was at least partially just changing the camera angle.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Like no one had done videos like that. I think like food videos maybe were so boring and like maybe person focused, but just overhead doing it was a new idea then.
And
And
bam, it just
yeah,
explodes and creates a whole genre, really.
it changed the game of food video. It's like the largest Facebook page, one of the largest non-celebrity Facebook pages there are, like over 100 million followers. But just that culture of trying, I always think that like no one knows your failures. People, you know your own failures, but most people like it, no one will see it. So not being afraid to try things. I've tried a million accounts. A lot of them were not good. But I've been lucky a few times in success in that. But like I said, like no one really knows what you failed at but yourself.
So how did you, what was the first inkling you had that House Haters or, Zillow Gone Wild had legs? If you had tried a bunch of different accounts and different ways into going viral, establishing a following that really can take hold, what was the spark that told you this one could go?
I always wish I knew the exact moment of thinking about something or like executing on it. But for Zillow Gone Wild, I had done celebrity home shopping before it. And it was just like me, green screen, a lot of celebs just buying and selling homes in the pandemic, like
Mm-hmm.
constantly. Just like I guess people were thinking about themselves. They're working from home or moving somewhere or thinking about moving somewhere. So I just kind of thought that there was a space to just kind of share houses, and it just immediately took off.
Wow.
I knew it was a good thing when it started. And I always say like a few weeks later, Saturday Night Live had a sketch on Zillow, and like I knew I was off like doing something. I knew I was onto something, and it's crazy.
Wait,
Just
they got that from you? Are you claiming that?
no. I mean, it was like Zillowing, I think, was becoming a trend. And
Okay.
it's just so crazy to think that, like, even agents were barely kind of like making videos and doing content about their house. You have Ryan Serhant and maybe a few others doing it. But this is December 2020, early 2021, and people weren't like reviewing random houses on Zillow. They weren't. It wasn't a thing. And there were like mansions accounts and like pretty homes accounts like that was out there, but I think this really tapped into the person that doesn't even know they're into real estate. Like this hit that space, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. Little over like 5.5 million followers across social channels. I say I'm the second biggest social media real estate brand behind Sirhan. I'm coming from him.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
Sirhan wears too many bracelets. You know what I
I mean,
mean?
he's so busy and he works hard and he's got a
Busy and
big TV show. So
busy
he's
and
got to
rich
jump.
and
Yeah.
no, that's yeah. What's so cool about what you said is um when you say, hey, this is tapped into people who didn't know they were even into real estate, it starts to sound like a strategy out of like a strategy deck that you could put together today for what you're doing. But I believe there's no way you can have, the egg. I would call that the egg. Like the strategy you kind of just described would be like, okay, here's the egg of an idea and it could grow into this amazing chicken that has 5 million followers. You need the chicken before the egg. Like you have to, and you have to stumble onto that chicken. I don't know if this analogy works or not, but my point being, that's how it was with Lovesac. Like we have this whole philosophy now, right? Designed for life. We make things that are built to last a lifetime, designed to evolve. If I would have started with that, I could have done everything I'm doing and done it even faster. The problem is, just like you, I had to like F around and find out. I had to make a B bag. And then it turns out people kind of liked it. Then I had to build a factory to do that. And then I had to like, the only reason I opened a store was because like the real stores told me no. And so and then we invented Sactionals because people wanted the couch that's over there in the corner, but we couldn't ship it. So then we chopped up couches and boom, you have, and now you fast forward to today, like we make things that are built to last a lifetime, designed to evolve. Okay, I can birth these big bean bags that have removable covers. I can birth the Sactionals and many, many other things now that are coming. I finally have the egg. You have an egg that now and now you're from that egg. Now you have a TV show on HGTV. Other, I've seen you do other species of posts that you're experimenting with, right? From that egg, you can do all these things. But I believe most people actually start with a chicken and they they stumble their way to that strategy that they wish they could have had in the beginning. But I just don't think that's the way it works. I think you have to learn to fail successfully if you want to have success. I don't even think there's any other way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's just very hard to get to that point of like design for life without all the steps that it took to get you there. Generally, I'm sure there are some examples out there, but like, yeah, all of the random accounts I started, all of the interest in real estate I had, all of the, I don't know, all of that stuff kind of took me to starting the account, which was like simple. Like there were like some homes out there that I had found, and like just figuring out like what the format is, and also like at this point trying not to even be too precious with what I think a wild house is, and trying to expand that range. And it's just kind of like what people are interested in. I mean, I love to
Mm-hmm.
see shares, I love to see comments. So it's like the bread and butter is, normal house, normal house, normal house. And then you see the photo that's like, oh, here's why this is here. But there's also mansions, there's like mid-century modern homes, there's, I don't know, islands, there's castles, there's kind of, I'm trying to make it like, you know, more than it is, instead of just kind of pigeonholing it into what like a wild home is and what I think a wild home is.
It sounds like what you're saying is that you've had homes or you've had whatever posts that have probably surprised you in how well they did for not having a creepy doll in the corner, Um, is that
Totally.
true?
Yeah, yeah. That's where a lot of people have sent this one to me, but we've kind of seen it before, but there's a reason they like it. So let me post it. And then like it does really well. So I'm always trying not to, like I said, like define what I think I'm doing in a space. So for homes, I don't want to be just like, oh, just wild, the interior or one room is crazy. I'm trying to even like build within it, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. Like, and I've noticed you experimenting. Like now, you do things you love, which is like a strange note of positivity from like downer Samir. But
um, well, that was like an early thing I realized is like with circle mirrors that people really love circle mirrors, and that instead of being a hater, maybe I should like
embrace it.
bring bring it together and like it. And it ended up being really good because so many people love circle mirrors, and that's just something I can also recognize. Like there's a reason people like some things, even with like gray home design or whatever. Like there's a reason. Like I don't know, it's just attractive to people. But the circle mirrors was fun because there was a while there where someone would be like at a club and they would see a circle mirror and they would like share it to their story and tag me. So just like, I don't know, that was a good lesson to me to like flip my hater instinct into like something.
You can be mostly hate with a little bit of love in your
Well,
heart.
hate gets too much shares. It's very enticing to be a hater online because people really like to engage with it, and like people will be
Mm.
like, "This is rage bait," or "You're just trying to get us mad." But maybe you need to launch a hate sack now. I don't know. It
Oh
would just
no,
just very bad designed furniture just doesn't work.
the hate sack. I got to think about what that could
Real
be.
beans in the beanbag.
Like the love sack is just too much positivity.
Well, I mean, good versus evil. Like, there's a good like story arc of having an evil era. So maybe there's something for Lovesack out there.
Yes. Now you've got me thinking. You cannot have the trademark. Hate sack. Big legs. But you have a love sack. So you know our brand.
Yes.
You see it in the wild, you see it, but you actually own it. What do you own? And how did that come to be? I can't believe it.
So I have another account called Kale Salad, which is like a meme account that's been around for almost 10 years now. That does like wholesome, fun memes. That's kind of like the first big account that I ever had and tried and started. Um, and I've done some ads with Lovesack. So I've got Sactionals, I've got Stealth Tech, which I was a hater on it, but it's really good.
Isn't
Like
it good?
I've had people come over and watch movies, like the couch is
Wait,
vibrating, the
I got to go
sound.
back. Hold on. Why were you a hater, and what converted you? I got to hear this.
Well, it's a little expensive for a home
Mhm.
system,
Fair.
but like sound bar, surround sound is fine, and like the price is a lot, but Harman Kardon is good, so I thought it would be good, at least technically. But then once I had it on, I'm like, this is awesome. Like I had to play it for everyone I knew.
Yeah.
We'll try to play it for people. It's just so cool. The sound coming out of the arms, the subwoofer under the seat is amazing. I make the guest that's testing it out sit on that seat. Um,
Yeah.
it's
And
pretty
it's
cool.
clean, right? Like it's shockingly clean audio
Yeah,
for
yeah, it's real cool. Now I'm a pro stealth tech guy. Big
heck
fan.
yeah, dude. I know people underestimate it and I get it. Like it's a crazy idea, right? Like my whole surround sound built into my couch, can't see it. But I'm super proud of Stealth Tech and we've done really well with it. And those that know. And there's a lot more to come. So I'm like so honored that you have that and that actually the hater of all haters gives it a review. That's like I feel like even a 3-star from you is like a 6-star anywhere else.
No, I'm 5 out of 5 with the stealth tech.
Oh man, that's
Like
that like
being like, did you hear it from the arm over there? And how about over there? And like,
it's
kind of,
cool, right?
yeah, it's real cool.
And then once you have it, you're ruined because it's you just turn on the TV and it's going. You don't have to like find the other remote and you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like that's what anyway. I'm like so honored that you have that. I didn't even know that. I can't even believe I didn't know that. I'm like so embarrassed, but super honored, man.
Yeah, of course.
So okay, fail successfully. So I got to come back to something you said because it strikes me that we live in a day and age where it may be quantity over quality, at least to find your way. And I don't know that that was always true. But I think in the world of big data, big reach, like there was no way when you and I were growing up, we could have reached millions of people pretty much, unless you got recruited to be like a VJ on MTV or something. Like some
Mhm.
wild career path you got to get lucky for. But today, any kid in their bedroom, any person at home, anyone with 2 thumbs, maybe 1 thumb, but anyone can reach the world. But as you described, right, you said you had to just try so many things. And even after you've got some platforms that are working, like with Zillow Gone Wild, I love what you said. Don't be too precious with it because if you throw enough spaghetti, as long as it's not totally random, like you kind of have a brand, you kind of have like an idea of what you're doing, but don't be so tight with it that you don't leave room to get lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with something like I know my Zillow Gone Wild, like I try not to like define it and always try to, as if it was brand new, to still try, oh, here's a home that I don't know if it would do well or if people are into, but let me try to share it and see if people are into it. So I'm always trying not to like define itself, but then I think like in trying new ventures, you have to kind of reset what even though like my reach is so high on these accounts that like when I'm trying like a new video for myself, I shouldn't like I tell myself not to be like discouraged. Like reaching 10,000 people is still you couldn't reach that, you know, 20 years ago or 30 years ago very easily. So I tell myself the smaller numbers are good too, especially if it's something new. It's like kind of rebuilding an audience.
It's interesting. And you don't worry about the attrition. Like, I think it's easy for people to stick with what they know because, like, oh, I lose less followers when I do this. It sounds like you're really pushing yourself to try things that you even worry might not work. How do you do that?
I think I had a hater motivation of someone saying like stay in your lane about something that I'm like, none of this even matters. But I think Um, yeah, I don't know. I think you just need to do what you like to do and not worry too much about attrition or your followers. And I always think that just like a lot of people will just like you as your brand. So growing that and expanding that, I think is like you shouldn't pigeonhole yourself as being like I don't necessarily I mean I love home hating, but I don't know if I want to be forever known as like the home hater. That maybe I could expand my world. But it's always funny because you also often don't want to do what you're like what you have. And I'm always struggling with like I don't really necessarily want to be a home guy, but it's where I have the biggest audience, so I should probably like I'm still very small in that like I should probably still expand that world before I think about what other spaces like I tried to do like sauce review early in the pandemic and I was like reviewing some sauces. I love like ranch and other kinds of dips. Um, but maybe it was like too soon to move to something smaller.
That's interesting. Well, it's interesting as we're all thinking about what we're doing and what it means and how to expand it. Do you become the deadpan reviewer of stuff, whatever, in this case, homes, sauces, or do you kind of become the home guy, whatever that means, and grow in that realm? Because the truth is, you could go horizontal or vertical
Mm-hmm.
and have wild success either way, I think. And so to some degree it's a choice, but I do love what you said. I've believed for a long time you have to go sometimes where the river takes you. You just have to go with the river. And in your case, like you tried all these different things. I don't know that you had some burning passion about Zillow or about homes even, but once that river started moving, it's like go with it. Don't swim against it necessarily. Swim with it. Double the speed. I mean, I never intended to be in furniture ever. Even after I had made the sack, people are like, "Where's the first love sack?" I didn't even keep it because I didn't even think love sack was going to become like a real thing. It was kind of this funny thing I did in college. So when I started making better ones, I threw the original one away. That's how much I had the foresight. Like, I'm going to be, the CEO of a public company with it wasn't that vision, but eventually I really just had to go with the river. And of course, I'm super glad I did. And now it's like I've reached this delta where it opens up and spreads out. And actually, I see a path into all kinds of things, not even through furniture per se, but through Designed for Life, back to the egg. But it took me like, I don't know, man, a decade and a half to get to the egg. I was still just chasing chickens around before I was able to make sense of it strategically. And so I'm a same as you, man. I'm a big fan of trying things, looking for those sparks of momentum, and then build on momentum where you see it, and don't be afraid. I I also want to build on what you said about being yourself. Brands, right? Everything's a brand in the end. You're a brand. I'm a brand. Lovesack is a brand. Zillow Gone Wild is a brand. You've just turned it into a TV show on HGTV, completely different genre. By the way, just launched 2 weeks ago. So everyone check it out. HGTV, Zillow Gone Wild. Samir's sold out. No, 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 no.
No, moving up.
Moving up. No, it's so cool. But go where that river takes you, right? But I love what you said about be yourself because I think that any brand, look, everyone out there listening has a brand, even if it's just yourself. And the reason people are attracted to most people, and by the way, not everyone is ever attracted to the same people, but the reason people are attracted to people is because they're authentic. They have charisma. And you can accept people for their weird ticks and the reasons you like them. Brands can be the same way. It's okay to piss some people off. It's like you're hating on string lights. It's how you feel. Just be that. Don't be so edited. And while some people might rise up in insurrection, many others will just like you. Because, hey, I don't even agree with you, but like at least they sense an authentic brand.
Totally. And I think part of all of it, I liked what you were talking about. Like, do you post a lot or a little, or like that volume of like the pressure now, especially that people think they have to post constantly because the algorithms and all this stuff. And I think that's a thing I try to balance of like burnout, in that I'm trying to post the least amount that I can, because I just don't want to be chasing, I don't want, I don't want to be a clown. I don't want to be just trying to like do every possible video. Even like the platforms are also kind of tricky because they'll throw out these bonuses and all these different things where, they want you to make more content, but that might not be what you're into or what your long-term goals are. So the balance of trying things, but not just trying to be, just like I said, I don't want to be a clown where I'm just making 50 pieces of content a day for people.
That's a good counter, right? So point counterpoint, right? It's a volume game. You gotta throw enough spaghetti to get something to stick. But then you've chosen to be discerning, it sounds like, with the content you put out there, at the same time willing to try things. It sounds to me more like you're just trying to be true to how you really feel and what you really want to do, as opposed to just being a slave to what maybe best practices tell you to do. Is that fair?
For sure. And like it's tough for me to do like something that I don't like to do. So I'm maybe not a good employee of a company, but I need to like what I'm doing very much. So I don't want to necessarily just like do a video or like some kind of content that I'm not into. But still trying to keep up with the audience, and regular cadence is good, and it all helps with growth and all that stuff, but not, some people you might see, they'll post 3 or 5 times a day. And like, that's not something that I thankfully don't necessarily need to do, but I don't think maybe it's like good for someone's mental health either in the long term if they're just trying to chase these numbers.
So I just want to call out for anyone listening, like what you just said, right? It's tough for me to do things I don't like to do. This is you demonstrating self-awareness. And I'm always preaching like the root of all success is self-awareness, right? And so I love that you're just being honest about that with yourself. Forget about us. You're being honest about who you are, how you really feel. Of course, there's times, right, where you might make exceptions. You got to push yourself. You got to do this or do that to get somewhere. But if you have the ability to really align your internal motivations with your work and the way you manifest yourself in the world, you're probably going to just be generally happier, which probably will make the work better, which probably will make people be more attracted to you and what you're doing, which probably will build your following in spite of, what the algorithms want you to do. And I think there's a grand lesson in that. And to go further, I believe entrepreneurs are lazy. That's the irony. We'll chase it because there's something inside of us. There's a certain amount of grit that comes out. If you didn't have it, you probably couldn't have any degree of success. But actually, the reason we're chasing is to get to a point where we can do less, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like deep down, our work ethic is driven by a desire to like do what the crap we want, like be lazy. And lazy is not the right. It's a crass way of saying it, but like to not have to work. We'll work like around the clock if we have
To pick what you do instead
Yeah.
of necessarily like do the things that you have to do. I think that's probably a good work goal for a lot of entrepreneurs, is to be able to, well, you follow that river of the thing that you can do or know that's growing, but then once you reach a certain point, like you go to the thing that you really want to do, or you think like now you finally have the time to or the resources. So yeah, there's probably some kind of level of, once you hit this thing where you want to do a lot less and like you're more choosy for your projects, or they're like passion projects or something.
Totally. So give me an example of you failing successfully that maybe hasn't come up yet in this. in this conversation?
Let's see.
Or by
Let
the
me.
way, what advice do you have for someone who wants to get better at failing successfully? You know, now that you can reflect on where it's led you and you've had a certain amount of success.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you need to try. You have to just do. You can't overthink things. That's where I think self-awareness is a balance. Is a balance. Where I mean, I always say like the richest people I know are either very smart and entrepreneurial, or actually maybe a little dumb, and that they're like maybe not so self-aware, and that they're just doing things and making decisions, and not even overthinking things and just figuring it out.
That's
Because
funny.
most things you can just kind of figure out. Um, so what were you saying about failing? Oh, um, yeah. I mean, I think you need to just try and not overthink things. And I heard this example of like them telling like a pottery class, like one student make it 100 times and one student just make one thing in a month, and that like the guy that did 100 times, um, his like 100th pottery thing was so much better than the guy who just did one. So especially in like early phases, that you need to just create and get it going, and then you'll get better at the thing you're doing, and then eventually you'll have a much better thing.
I love that. In fact, I think that's such a cool challenge. For me, unrelated, but it's a parallel that I feel is relevant to share. Um, I wanted to be a surfer. You know, I'd seen it my whole life. I never lived by the ocean. I got the chance to live by the ocean for a year with my kids, and when we moved out there to San Diego, um, we made the goal together. Like we're going to surf in this year we have. We're going to surf at least 100 times because come on, it must be the case that if we get out there 100 separate times, we'll probably advance somewhere, right? And there's no way to even know. Like,
Hmm.
we're not taking surf lessons. We're not doing that. It's just like, we're just going to do that. And sure enough, man, and it's hard when you suck at something, it's hard to like get the motivation to do it because it gets a lot more fun when you're good at it.
Yeah.
But you can't have the fun being good at it if you don't put in the work. And so I got to be honest, for 20 times and not look, I won't complain. Like there's worse things in life than surf, but the water's freezing. It might even be a winter day. Like you don't feel like, you got other things to do. Always get distracted. But developing this commitment to like, I am going to do this 100 times. And then you wake up at time number 40 or 60 or 80 and you're like, holy crap, like I can surf.
Hmm.
And which one did that happen on? Was it number 39 or was it number 72? But I think there's a lot of merit to just sometimes making the decision that I am going to do this and put in the work and accept it as work with the faith that on the other end of it comes that point where I get to do what I want to do. And now, if I get the chance to surf, I go. You know what I'm saying? Because it's super fun because I know how to do it. And I think that it's worth contemplating. What are you willing to pay? What's the price you're willing to pay in order to arrive at a point where it gets fun, whatever it is? Because I got to believe now it's a lot more interesting for you to make a video that has the potential of, I mean, when I can't imagine what it's like to have 5 million followers and you post something and just to see if you left notifications on. I've
Hmm.
seen it on a friend. I have a friend who's a huge, like I got a little following, whatever. People are listening to this podcast. Thank you, by the way. Appreciate your support. But like, if you turn on notifications, Samir, it's got to look like a river of content of comments and stuff. That's got to be kind of exciting, right? Come on.
Yeah, no, that dopamine hit is real. Like I used to extremely like meticulously track the kale salad posts that I would do. And like that's like a meme account that I have that like that's like the first like big thing I figured out. And I noticed like in, I don't know, give it a little origin story, that in like 2015 a lot of these accounts were posting like, I don't know, like a Mean Girls image and like I like pizza kind of relatable stuff. And I quickly found that there were these like short stories people were like tweeting about that was like me and my friend went to the beach and this funny thing happened, and here are 2 photos of it. So it was kind of like a news story, and you could see who posted it and you could see the image. And I was just crushing Instagram's explore page. And this is before they had video. This is before they had anything but images. And like if you were on Instagram at that time, probably in that first spot was my post. I was getting like hundreds of millions of views a month. And where am I getting at here? What were we talking about?
Well, we were talking about how it feels to,
Oh yeah.
reach the point where
So
you
I
have
was
a
tracking
following.
likes per minute, and if a post is getting 1,000 likes per minute, I knew it was a banger. I knew it was gonna get it was a good one. And if it was getting like, I don't know, 100, I might have like pulled it. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't gonna do what I thought it was doing. And I was just so good at like finding content and like sourcing it and growing that Instagram account. So yeah, the reach, like that's where like I don't know, sometimes I have to remember that I can reach a lot of people every month, and it's pretty nice to have like that kind of impact, where I personally want to have a lot of positive world impact. And I think through memes, through real estate, through, I don't know, this new account I have that's like insane Facebook Marketplace that shows a lot of like stuff from Facebook Marketplace that's growing kind of well. Yeah, I don't know, trying to bring joy.
I love it. And it's so ironic because you're trying to bring joy. You're using hate with your tongue in cheek
Wow.
as the
I
medium.
never thought of it that I'm bringing joy through hate.
No, man. But what's cool about that is I believe for the longest time, if your marketing isn't pissing someone off, it's probably not good enough because it's not going to cut in this cynical world we live in, right? And so it's okay. Like, okay, so people are up in arms because, like you said, something mean about their string lights. At least they're talking to you, man. And by the way, every comment, as you know, drives that algo and only makes you a
Mm-hmm.
better surfer, right? In this uh, metaphor. So I think that people are so afraid sometimes of, I don't know, any negativity, but if you keep it lighthearted and you have a thick skin and you can kind of make fun of yourself or accept the criticism, I think that's a really healthy place to live.
For sure. And like I said earlier, that like no one really knows your failures or what like you thought something would be. I think of this if I'm like doing a presentation where it's not like I'm doing this and like I'm on a circuit of this presentation. So no one knows what I'm going to say. So people generally are always like excited about it. And they're
Mhm.
like, they'll come up to me afterwards and be like, that was great info and all this stuff. So like you shouldn't, like, only you know most of like your failures or what you intended to do. And other people, especially if you're like a content creator or like a company even, they're like fans of you. So I think I don't think people shouldn't be as worried as much.
I think it's very empowering. You said something earlier, right? Like none of this really matters anyway. I'm making fun of
Mm-hmm.
homes on Zillow. Like why do I, right? And so I think maintaining that perspective, it's one of the Shawnisms, right? Nothing really matters. We this was a previous episode. And I believe in that. Like it's wild because once you can convince yourself of that or keep reminding yourself of that, you're a lot freer, I think, to be more interesting and to just not be so uptight.
100%. I mean, I think in the product space, it's a little bit different because manufacturing isn't as easy as just having an idea to make a video
Fair.
on my green screen.
That
But,
matters.
but you definitely, I mean, you've got to also try things in the product space. So you're like your swings are a little bit different, but your swings are with knowledge and like intuition. So it's not like they're totally blind. But even you said in your book that was it with stealth tech that the people were like, you can't do this, you can't do
Right.
this. But sometimes your intuition is your best bet.
100%. In fact, the older I get, the more experienced I get, the more people around me with deep insights, experience in marketing, all this. frankly, the more I come to trust my intuition, because whenever I kind of go against it, I usually regret it. But it's not always what you think it is. So I don't force it on the organization or on everyone. I try to listen because it's not always about the exact thing. Like you have to really scrutinize I'm reacting to something. I feel like unsettled about this or that. You have to really probe then and get down to what is my intuition actually trying to tell me, not just like, I hate that idea, or that's a stupid name, or that's a dumper. You know what I mean? It's not always that. And so I encourage people to really listen to their intuition, but also be very discerning with it. One thing I want to call out that you mentioned, which I just want to poke at, is, we've been talking about trying things. We've been talking about trying more things. Don't be too discerning. Don't be afraid. At the same time, you're not just a goofball throwing spaghetti. You are paying attention to the trends. You're trying to remix those trends. You're, as you said, meticulously tracking, the success of your posts. You're not just kind of throwing them to the wind and hope they gain momentum. We'll do another one. Like, there's a work ethic underneath all that, Samir. For a jokester that, is constantly basically lives in a state of sarcasm, there's a work ethic to you that most people probably don't know. Where does that come from? And how did that develop?
I've always been interested in like information. I'm just always reading, and I'm just like always online. Twitter or X is like a place where I'm just kind of consuming a lot of stuff. So I think maybe just always had a natural passion for knowing things. Any movie I'm watching, I'm on Wikipedia. Any kind of news story or something, I'm trying to learn about it. So just like maybe in my own success is probably just like just consuming stuff, and then I'm also probably just good at like is this a thing? And I call it like connectors. Like I'm able to kind of like group something. I'm like, oh, like I've seen a lot of screenshots of Facebook Marketplace items, so maybe like there's an account out there that would be good to kind of show all these things. And then like that was a success. So I think it's just like kind of being in the space and consuming the space, and then being able to have like that moment where like, oh, this might be a thing, so giving it a shot like within it.
I think that's a tremendous insight for people. You wouldn't have made that connection that you described if you weren't consuming enough content to be able to then see the pattern, see the repetition, and then hopefully be thoughtful about how you might parlay that. Then you throw the spaghetti. So you're not just throwing random things. You're trying to, I think, throw spaghetti that's built on some kind of insight or hunch.
Totally. Yeah.
That's sourced from mass inputs. So back to like, we live in the day of big data. We live in the day of big information, and it's okay to embrace that. And in fact, parlay that into a career as you've done. And it's so cool that you've taken these natural abilities you have that are kind of, I don't know, they're just who you are, right? Like you just said, I like, for instance, I don't hang out on X. By the way, I love reading books. I'm saying that you do your thing. I do my thing. And it's okay, whatever your thing is. And in fact, you can turn your thing into, a real career or a real brand if you're willing to pay attention and find ways to leverage it. Even if that thing is, I like looking at content on social media. Like, how cool is that? Like, to me, or surfing, and I'm not a pro surfer, but there's people who've done that. And so I just think like I'm just calling it out because I think it's really cool for people to recognize that you didn't get where you are by just getting lucky, by just throwing nameless spaghetti. You were intentional about the spaghetti you were throwing. You had to throw a lot of it to get some to stick. And when it stuck, you really went with it. And I just applaud you, man. Like I love what you do. You do bring a lot of joy into the world, which I think fundamentally is good. Like you make me smile You make me and my wife laugh all the time. We love your stuff. And is there anything that, you've read my book, which I'm humbled about. Is there anything in the spirit of Let Me Save You 25 Years you would offer anyone listening out there that might just save them a chunk off their own journey if they want to have a following and a reach like Samir's?
A lot of pressure. I think just like not hesitating when they have like ideas or an intuition and doing it. And I chalk a lot of things up to just like building too. So maybe that idea didn't work, but then like the idea 3 times from there were because of the thing you tried. And sometimes you need to just get out of your system too. Like you need to try the thing that you've been thinking about for a long time just to move on from it. So like the more you can do and not overthink, especially when it comes from your intuition, the better, the more time you'll save to get to, the bigger thing or the thing that really makes you happy.
Such good advice. Well, everyone be sure to follow Samir on Instagram at Zillow Gone Wild, his website, zillowgonewild.com. And be sure to check out the latest season, brand new show, 2 weeks old, Zillow Gone Wild on HGTV. New episodes are airing right now.
Right now. I say I'm the most successful producer ever. I pitched 1 show and I got 1 show. That's it. I'm retiring.
Batting 1,000. Amazing. And by the way, congratulations. I'm really genuinely happy for you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to the hunter of hilarious homes, the dankest of the deadpans, the sultan of strange listings himself, Mr. Samir Mezrahi.
Thank you for having me.
And to everyone listening, remember, every failure is just another Zillow Gone Wild post waiting to be remodeled into success. Take the risk. It just might save you a chunk off your own 25-year journey. Thanks.
Once a year to take my friends away should not be the budget for your bike across America.
TikTok has become an aggregator for some of the dumbest human actions.
When I won that million, I was $2 million in debt, barely hanging on.